Regional versus metro, what works better? In this video, I am going to uncover these, the pros and cons. So if you want to know, then stick around. Okay, so when it comes to the commercial properties, then you look for different locations. The first thing that comes to your mind is that should I buy in a regional area or should I just buy into the metropolitan area? And when it comes to the commercial, there are multiple other factors that you need to look. It's not only about that location. This thing also does matter, and here is my way of looking into it. First of all, if you buy in a metro area, whether it's a residential or commercial property, generally it just grows. The property value is higher as compared to the regional areas, right? Now in commercial it's slightly different, because in commercial, although it is the metro, it depends on the rent that you collect. Perhaps if the rent is more, then even the regional properties will be higher as compared to the metropolitan area. So basically what you look is that how much rent that I am going to collect, and if the rent that you are collecting, which is a percentage of return, also known as cap rate, if the cap rate is higher, then that's what you perhaps will be chasing. Now we need to also look into that what particular area, why do you think that particular property will remain tenanted? Because you need a complete assessment of that, and one of this assessment is that, okay, if my current tenant moves out, will I be able to rent it out that property? That is very important in commercial aspect, whereas in residential perhaps it is not that much. So the pros for a regional areas, if you want to invest in commercial property, you need to see that, okay, is that area is growing in terms of the population? That's number one factor. The second factor is that if the population is growing, is the property that I am buying is always going to be in demand, and right now the rent that I am collecting, is it congruent with the market rent? These are the things that you need to look into. If it is not congruent with the market rent, then perhaps you need to look at, or you are paying probably over more, because based on the rent, then you are calculating cap rate, and hence you are doing the total value, the property value. But then in metro, you might be able to see that the rent is less, hence the cap rate is low in terms of the same price. But also you need to look into is that in metro, perhaps you might have a better growth, because the yield might get compressed for huge amount of population growth. So what you need to look into overall, it's not, you cannot stereotype it. You need to look into is that, okay, based on my capital, based on my purchase, what cap rate should I look, and in that cap rate, what's the risk that I'm taking by investing into the regional areas, versus if you invest into metro areas, what cap rate or what rent you are actually going to lose, how much cash flow you are losing. It comes down to a point where you should be thinking about, okay, if it's your first investment property, perhaps you can look into metro areas where the return is little less versus the regional. But at the same time, when you are heavily invested into metro areas, perhaps you already bought one or two, three commercial properties, and then you are perhaps thinking of more cash flow, you can offset that into the regional areas, because that's how you can balance it and the portfolio will remain like a solid, rather than investing only into always regional or only into always metro. It's better to invest into both sides, and that's how you get the better outcome. Now, I have invested into both sides, and I can tell you one thing, that regional is always going to give you a better cash flow as compared to the metropolitan. There being said that metropolitan will always be less riskier rather than regional. So you need to come up with a kind of a mix of both risk as well as cash flow, and with a little bit of more risk, with a little bit of more cash flow, plus less risk and less cash flow. So in the event something downturns happens, you'll always know that, okay, if this property comes to a vacant, then it is the metropolitan is always giving you, and at the same time, if the metropolitan is not giving you cash flow, it is always balancing with the regional properties. So what works better, it depends on person to person, and at the same time what works better for you, you have to decide. But remember, less risk means less return, that is metropolitan. More risk, more return, that is regional. That's the standardized approach. I hope you find this video helpful. If you like this, consider subscribe our channel, turn the notification bell on so you get to see more videos like this, and it will also help you to reach out to more people like you. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.